I want to show you how to put together this particular series of 6, the one about hats, just so that they're coordinated and have a similarity. The idea about the series of 6 is that you may be making something for print or for television or for the website or for some promotional exercise where you want to have different pictures, but they relate to each other in the size and the color background and the lettering and the colors of this and that. And so with this hat series, you can see that there's a variety of pictures with hats in them. And I want to show you how this goes about. The format for this, this is a particular finished one with Fred Astaire and the word Butter Toes as a headline. On a subheadline, top this, Fred. So you can see by the size here, it is 6 by 4 inches. If I go up here to my image and say, give me my image size, it is 6 wide, 4 high, and the resolution high, 400. If I take this to a printer or go through a print production, something or other, I'll probably bring it down to 200 because above 200, the machinery just doesn't see that fine pixelization going on. But I make them at 400 so I can see good quality as I'm working. So that's all right, and I say, good, let's make another one in this series. Now what I do is I'll have made a blank. I will have gone up to Photoshop New and said, give me this thing 6 by 4 by 400, and it'll have a white background. And having done that, then here's my 6 by 4 in a vertical layout. They're all going to be the same, vertical or horizontal. You can't switch back and forth and have that sameness of format. Now, the next thing I want to do is bring over a character that has a hat or headdress. This Aztec warrior has the feathers and the carved animal hat and that sort of thing. And so I'm going to use this as the subject matter. So in order to get him over there, I'm going to go with my magic wand tool, and I'm going to click in the negative space. Notice there's 2 layers. The background is color, and then he's all solid. He's been cut out from a photograph, and this took a while to cut this guy out with all the feathers and parts and things that are there. But he's with the polygonal lasso tool, he's been cut out, and he's on his own level. So that level is active, and I take my magic wand and I click in the negative space. And you see the marching ants start to dance around the negative space. What it's reached is all the outside. But see all these little inside places here between his arm and his torso and other places in the feathers? They're not active yet. So I'm still looking to get the negative space active. So I go to select, and I'm asking for everything that's similar in that negative space. Now you see everything has got the ants running around it, the negative space. Now I want him, the positive space, with all these feathers and inside stuff. And so I go back to select and say this time inverse. Now watch the marching ants. They're still there, but they're now marching around him and his feathers, all the positive space. So now that's in place, and I can say, good, I'll move on. I'm going to move him to that empty format I just made. Command C copies him to the desktop, to the computer for that one-time grab and hold. Then I'm going to go back to my untitled format here and see its background over here on the layer. It's locked. I'm going to click on that and just give it a name, ERTY. And now it has a name, and eventually I'm going to give it a color. But I'm going to add a new layer here, and it's layer 1, and that layer I'm going to name Aztec. And you can see Aztec Warrior or whatever. And then Command V as in Victor, there he is. Now he's coming in a little large, so I'm going over here to my select arrow, make sure my Show Transform Controls is checked on, and I'm going to reduce him in size. Holding down the Shift key and the Option key, he's going to reduce from the center down. And I'm going to move him around so I bring him up so I see his full figure. And I say, okay, there he is. Now, depending on my layout, how I'm going to use that. Matter of fact, I'm going to say okay to that, and it says you want to apply the transformation. Apply. I changed its size, and so I say yes. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my, first of all, I'm going to get a guideline out of the center, out of this ruler, and hit over here and put it down the middle. So there's 3. If you don't have your inches, or your rulers, make sure you do Command R and get your rulers there. Now that divides that exactly in half. And I can take this guy and I can put him to the half point, or something there, like where that feather hits the halfway mark. Now I'm going to have 2 Aztec guys. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take the Aztec layer over here and I'm going to click on it and drag it down to this little page thing. Now not only is it going to make me a new page, but it's going to make me a copy of what's on the old layer. Not a page, a layer. And there it is, Aztec copy. Now if I pull him off and use the shift key as I move him, he's going to move straight across. If I put the shift key down, I can't move him up and down. The shift key not there, I can move him up and down. With the shift key there, he's locked in. And I could have, twin warriors, sort of place them like that. If I wanted another one, I could say Aztec copy, give me one of those guys. And then grab the copy and pull it, use the shift key and pull him back so that we've got 2. Now I'm going to place these in different areas so it looks like he's not on top of each other. I could take this last one, this 3rd one, and go up to Edit. Now remember, he has to be selected, and it's that layer. I'm going to go up to Edit and down to Transform, and then I'm going to say in that sub-menu, Flip Horizontal. So he's going to flip on a horizontal axis, and he's going to go the other way. And now I can take these guys, all triplets here, and I'll move him, again the shift key down, I'll move him out a little bit so the feathers are just sort of interlacting. His toe isn't on top of the other guy's toe, and just go about like that. And so I've got 3 guys instead of 1. Now the idea here is what am I going to put for lettering? It has to do something with hats. And in the Aztec, the hats they wore were kind of scary and important, and feathers and all that business. So I'm going to go over here to my text tool, and I'm going to select up here in the top the font I want. And in this case, I'm going to go to Mater, where is it? Mater Corpus. Now you may not have this on your particular computer because fonts are added and put together on each computer, depending on what you want to have and purchase and that sort of thing. But I've got this Mater. It's a thick, fat lettering. And I'm going to make it the color of their skin. See, the color here is gray. I'm going to take this little thermometer, or eyedropper, and I'm going to click on the skin right there. And see what it did? It put that color right here in my foreground color. Now, it's going to be type, and I've got the Mater Corpus, and it's 36 points, and it's centered. I could make it flush left or right. There's my color, that skin color. I'm going to move this around a bit, so I'm going to come over here and click there, and I'm going to use for my headline, let's see, I'm going to cap terror, and then I'm going to hit the return key and put F-E-A-T-H-E-R, feathers. Okay, now I can take some time. It won't take a lot of time, but I can take some time to fiddle with this lettering. As I look at it now and come over to my character box, it's a little unusual. It's 150% wider. I'm going to take that back down to 100% wide, and the spread between them, I'm going to come back to that to be 100. I'm sorry, 0. Now what that does is that brings everything close and tight. And I want close and tight the way I'm going to set this thing up. And also there's a space between here. I'm going to go back to that and say, give me that space, but it's at, see, I'm at 36 points. At a 24 point, here is the leading in between it. And I can choose, maybe I'll go down to 18. It'll squeeze them closer together. That works pretty good. So now I've got this lettering, terror feathers. Now I don't want to cover up too much important stuff, although they're all the same anyway. So I'm going to put this terror feather coming right off the center line here. And it's covering his leg a little bit, and it's covering that. We can do a lot of things with fonts to make them a little more interesting. For example, as it sits there now, I'm on terror feathers, the letters, I can come down here and say, give me a stroke. That's a thin line around the font. It comes in black. I can say, give me that as a dark brown or orange. Well, that's what I've got now. Let's see, let's go a little darker. Okay, so I've added a stroke, and I can make the stroke at 6 points. I can make it wider or narrower. If I want to go a little wider than 6, that's not too good looking. Bring it back down to where it was, around 6 or 8. And that gives a little bit of a read between the front of the letters and the characters themselves. Now, the other thing I have going here is I want to have, I'm going to okay that. I want to have, that's a headline, and I want to have a subheadline. So in order to keep everything same, the terror feathers, the type here, I'm going to drag that down and make a copy of that. And there, when I take it away, I've got terror feathers, the copy. But I don't want it that big and don't want those letters. But I do want the brown and the stroke. So I'm going to click that again, bring it down up here in the top. I'm going to bring it from 36 up here down to maybe 18. And I'm going to take off, click and drag, and make it come back to here by deleting that. I just want one line. This will be a subhead line, so it'll be a one-liner. And so I'm going to hit that again, and this time change the font or the wording from terror to, let's say, warriors on the move. Okay, somebody else is going to write the copy for me probably. And I'll put that down here and say, I'll just balance that. I'll come out here to this edge and leave it sitting underneath. And now I've got a layout going that's going to be part of my hats thing. Last thing I want to work on is that entry. Now, or I'm sorry, what I called the entry, the background. I don't want white. I'm going to take the colors that are involved here. Now there's some red in this feather thing he's holding. I'm going to select that red, and there it is. I'm going to change that and bring it to the background. Here's the foreground. I'm going to take maybe this blue right here that's in his headdress. Now I've got 2 colors, and I can say gradient-wise, I'm going to select my background. I can go to the gradient tool. I can come up here and make it a radial, not a linear, but a radial. And there it's showing me that blue to red. And blue will be on the inside at that point. I think I'm going to change that and make red on the inside, because what I'm going to do now is come right here at the middle of these 2 guys and click and drag my gradient tool. You see how that put a red in the middle, and it rotates and gradiates to in a circular, a radial pattern to the outside. And say, well, there's that. Or I could say, let's try a orange, a dark orange, and a lighter orange. There. And do that same circular gradient here with the radial there. And I'll come again here back in the center and click and drag. And now that's a little more dramatic and in tune with the colors and things that are there. So if that becomes my final piece, I'm going to move this gradient or this guideline out of the way. Okay, so there is the 6th one. I've got layers here, and eventually we'll flatten it. I'm going to save it as layers, so if I want to come back and work it some more, I can do that. And now I've got a layout in the form, 6x4, in the format, with a headline and a subheadline. And in this case, there's 3 guys with these headdresses on, but they're all the same character. That makes it look pretty uniform for your troops. So that's the method we go through. Now you want to think through this series of 6 all the way so that you have your subject matter that you're going to cut out and make the pictures and the lettering and form the headlines and the subheadlines to reconstruct 6 that are called a series of 6.